Hello, everyone. Happy Sunday. We are so glad you are here. My name is Katie Gideon, and I will be your on-camera facilitator. I am dialing in from Edinburgh, Scotland. So it's afternoon for me, but morning for you all. But it's so great to see you. And I want to give a huge shout out to my co-facilitator who's going to be in the chat, Maya, who is dialing in from Colorado. So we are glad that everybody is here. Everybody is joining us so that we can set up this weekly setup. There are no, as Karen would say, Sunday scaries here. So we're so glad you joined us. I am seeing some returning socialer names in the chat, but if you are new to, or your first time social, or maybe you're new to a weekly setup social, or maybe this is like your first Sunday morning social, let us know in the chat. If you are new here, because we love welcoming all of our newer folks, but we always, again, love our returning socialers, especially so we get to set up this week. And as always, you can share as much or as little in the chat that you want. Make sure that if you are going to share in the chat, you can set your Zoom to everyone so that your entire Sonder fam in the social can read it. If you just have it to host and panelists, that is just something that myself and Maya can see. So you can always ask us questions there. But we are, again, so glad you are here, especially with this kind of short week, which I feel like is always a fun thing to set up. But I also think it becomes a little bit more maybe unconventional than what of our standard kind of weekly setups because holiday right near the end of it. So we all, want to be present, want to spend that time with our friends and family, take that time off. So this is me giving you permission to make adjustments to your weekly setup to account for not having to work or being off, having family around, having children back in the house. That's what's nice about being able to start each week anew. You can make it what you need for the week that you're going to have, or the week that you would like to have, or the week that you hope to have, or maybe even the week that you think you're going to have. But we are so glad that everybody is here. We're going to get started shortly. But as always, make sure that you are kind and courteous to yourself and others. No promotions or spam. Please respect everybody's privacy. No hate speech or bullying. If you have product questions or accessory questions, please limit those. We have a great headquarters team that can answer those. We can definitely provide the email address, but redirect all of those customer care inquiries to the hello@silkensonder.com address. And then Sonder Socials are a tool to help alleviate your emotional health through the power of community, but you are responsible for your own emotions, own reactions, and kind of own exploration. So that means you don't have to participate in the chat. It means you can mute me if I am too much for you. It means you can just sit here, breathe, listen to music, and color, work on your journal, all of those things. It is your journal, your journey. And so whatever you need, we are here to do that, but we want to make sure that we are supporting everybody as well as celebrating the highs, lows, and everything in between as we get ready for this setup. So please join me in your journal. We are still embracing the month's theme of nostalgia, which about, halfway through the month, I feel like I now have a very different idea of what I thought nostalgia was going to be, or kind of the reflection and exploration of nostalgia. I am usually one of those people that I either love the theme or I just can't relate to the theme. This one, I'm stuck, which is very new to me. I feel like I love the idea of nostalgia. I love the concept of it. I love almost that kind of, elegant exploration of it. But then when I actually sit down to reflect and embrace nostalgia in my own life, I turn to a very angry, unhappy, dark little creature coming out of the closet who just wants to rain on all of the nostalgia that I'm trying to willingly and openly and positively embrace. So I found that kind of interesting. And so I'm going to continue to embrace it. We're going to try and suppress the monster in the closet or monster under the bed that wants to rain on my parade. But I have found it a little bit more challenging than I thought. And so that's just kind of my thought on these themes, but I feel like Maya did a great job of reminding me of sometimes the trickier themes are the ones that you really need to kind of dig into, or adds that element of challenge or kind of deeper reflection, deeper meaning, which I mean is why we show up every month. So I appreciate that. But if you're in that kind of nostalgia boat, you can come be in that kind of little canoe with me as we try to bail out the water of reflection. So, with that being said, the first thing we're going to tackle is the nostalgia mind map. Then we're going to do the rosebud thorn, which is a great reflection of the previous week. And then we're going to do the weekly setup and go through all those pages. So if you have not already set up your nostalgia mind map, this is how we have kind of become a staple with the weekly setups of how we try to dig a little deeper into the month's theme. So again, we're going to figure out how the role of nostalgia that plays in our lives. We've got 4 different weeks, so we've got 4 different week questions. So please, if you haven't already done this on a blank page, or if you're doing this in another section of your journal, here are the previous weeks, because again, you're not going to find this in the journal, so find a notes page. I found a notes page. My example is going to be on the next slide since the light's blaring it. But we've got week 1 and week 2 already listed here. Week 3, we're going to kind of explore, are there memories from your past that could help you rediscover who you are? Which, with the whole kind of my thoughts and feelings on nostalgia, this hit me where it kind of hurt, where it was like the call out of having to navigate those memories. So with that being said, there are no time requirements to define your past. It's one of those, it can be years you're reflecting on, it could be months, it could be weeks, it could be earlier today. So when you're thinking of memories from your past, there is no time requirement for that. You can redefine and define how you rediscover and reflect on this question. These obviously can be mental or emotional steps to help you move forward. But another kind of aspect of this is, what kind of support do you need to kind of rediscover yourself? And then, are there things you need to add, make time for, or remove to discover? One of the things that Maya and I bonded kind of over was there's some nostalgia around hobbies. So a lot of it is, those are things that I want to rediscover who I am. So it's setting aside more time, freeing up time to do that. Instead of just kind of wasting time, I want to focus on, saying yes to things. Don't turn anything down. Do it because I want to, regardless of the impression I'm going to give for somebody else. I do a lot of solo travel. I just went to a restaurant earlier today by myself, and I know there was a stigma around that for a while, but I'm going to keep doing that because I don't want to miss out on something like that just because I would have to do it alone. So I'm going to give you some time to work on this. Let us know how you're approaching the question. Let us know how you're answering the question. So we know it can get a little tricky, so make sure you set up those mental barriers if you need to, because this should be a way to deep dive, reflect, go a little deeper, but it shouldn't be totally triggering that it throws off the entire process. So let us know. I'm going to turn on some music, and we'll see you soon. Thank you everyone for sharing. I noticed that this definitely was a little trickier than some of the questions. So I appreciate everyone sharing kind of on that kind of hesitation component. But what's nice with these ideas is you can write these down and you can reflect on this throughout the week, throughout the month. It's another one of those, if you set aside, dedicated time to journal throughout the week, this is a question that you can come back to, reframe, re-idea, kind of just to, work through as you dive a little deeper under this nostalgia umbrella. And then I love that Mary also pointed out that it kind of goes hand in hand with, you know, there is no time requirement for nostalgia, that she's creating some of the nostalgia now so that future her can look back with those nostalgia feelings. So I think it's one of those we can kind of tweak. Again, I'm always a big fan of tweaking the theme a little bit, but it definitely has some flexibility there. But thank you everyone for sharing. And let us know again, you can keep sharing in the chat kind of how you're embracing nostalgia through this month, again, through some of our other activities. So now we are going to do our rosebud thorn exercise. So please join me on page 44 in your November journal. This is the rosebud thorn. It's the closeout of the week. So what's really great is to kind of use this time to reflect the highs and the lows and everything in between from the week. And as always, we're big fans of providing support for those folks that are running into some thorns and providing just some celebration on some of those roses. Excuse me. So a rose is a highlight, a win, something that went well, something that made you smile, something that you were excited about. The bud is something, an emerging opportunity, something that can turn into a rose, or maybe could turn into a thorn, just kind of this event on the horizon that is giving us some optimism, something to do. Thorn is a challenge, something that didn't go well, speed bump, something that you wish could have been done a little bit differently. But being able to look at all of these kind of in a single reflection for the week, I feel like is always great. And I definitely know when I'm in just one of those moods where nothing is going to go right that week, I do have a hard time finding roses. So I use other sections of the weekly spread to kind of track those wins so that I always have a rose, so I can always look back at something exciting. And so for me this week, my rose is I started cooking again. I know if you had seen me in previous ones, I had declared war against my stove and oven, but I've since figured it out. And I'm excited and we're doing well. We are moving forward. So it's a rose again. The bud is my mother unfortunately ran into some pretty serious health concerns, but she is on the mend. We've got a good upswing. Everything went well, and she's headed into recovery, hitting all the milestones. So that's great, especially since I feel a little unhelpful being as far away from them as I am, but glad that it's going well. And then my thorn is still getting organized. Trying to get unpacked. That's just going to be that constant thing of still being unknown and all those things. So I already see that folks are putting in their rosebud thorns in the chat. Please continue to do so we can provide that extra support if you need it, as well as celebrate with you for some of those wins. We'll see you soon. Thank you everyone for sharing. I know us definitely with the holidays coming up, the rosebud thorns tend to kind of meld a little bit with sometimes the family and friends can be the roses, sometimes they can be the thorns depending on the week. But it is still a really good exercise to kind of reflect on, those highs, those lows, kind of everything in between. And just it's able to, if you have a rose that you're really excited about, you can pull that into the next week to keep that momentum going. If there is a bud that has a lot of potential, you can put some time, energy, and effort into um, cultivating that. And then the thorns, it's always great to acknowledge because every rose does have a thorn. And so usually you gotta kind of have that nice, hopeful balance between the good and the not so good. So thank you everyone for sharing. We appreciate that. And then I always recommend Rosebud Thorn is a really great journal exercise to do kind of just randomly during the day. Obviously, we do it at the end of the week, but it's certainly a good thing of just like that moment of quiet reflection, just to be like, everybody is doing well. Even at your worst day, you're still trying and you're still working and you're still moving forward. So we are now going to move to the main event, the weekly planner. So please join me on page 46 and 47 in your November journal. This is just kind of a highlight of I am going to provide some ideas on kind of my approach. I've got some great examples from other Sonder fam members. But just because these are the examples that provided, it is not the only way to journal, not the only way to Silk and Sonder. So you can always repurpose. You can keep stuff blank. You can slap stickers on it. The opportunities are endless. And like I said, definitely with it being a shorter week and wanting to be present for the holidays, we know that this week is probably going to look a little bit different with any other ones, and that's okay. Give yourself some grace, take a couple deep breaths, because this shouldn't be a triggering moment. This should be a really wonderful kind of self-care retreat that you can kind of go off to. If you only have 5 minutes, if you only have 10 minutes, if you've got 30 minutes, if you can set aside an hour, kind of all those things. But I always add that element of, manage your expectations. Reality is going to come and kind of wipe some of this stuff away. That's okay. Smile, take a deep breath, and we can come back and try it again next week. So first section is this week I want to feel. So this is top of page 46. The way I kind of like to connect all of these pieces together is how do I want to feel this time next week? So I will use this word or this phrase or this mantra as a way to kind of provide that kind of overarching idea of when I'm a little lost, when I'm a little tired, when I'm a little cranky, I can come back to this and be like, this is where I want to be, and here are all the ways I'm going to get there. I love it when I do take a nice detour, but come the end of the week, I'm still feeling the same way. So that's why I feel like it's that kind of core motivation. There are other couple of creative ideas. You can have a different, different feeling for each day of the week. You can do, I want to feel more of, I want to feel less of, but I'm starting to see some of the positive, some of the thankful. I'm going to give you just a few moments to start throwing in those feelings in the chat. How do you want to feel? Thank you everyone for sharing. I love starting the socials with these, the weekly setups with these, because there's so much inspiration and optimism that I feel like it sets the whole tone for like really great. Everyone wants to be present, recharged, thankful. I saw calm and grateful, accomplished, all of those really great motivational feelings that's going to propel us through the rest of the week. And so as we propel ourselves through the rest of the week, we're going to break down some of those other sections. So again, we are still on page 46. I'm going to talk about the weekly major 3 goals and then give everybody some time to work on that, as well as the to-dos, because I feel like those two work really well hand in hand. Because the way I approach the weekly major 3 goals is these are the kind of mental or emotional phrases that I need to embrace so that I can feel how I want to feel this time next week, but also how I can use my to-do list to kind of ground those goals. So what you'll see is some folks will have different categories. So some people will have a me, a home, and a work, maybe a body, mind, and a family, maybe a work, a body, a mind, some sort of combination of those. And then other folks will have, again, mind, body, spirit. Some will have like what I say, the kind of the traditional, like here are the big things I want to accomplish this week, and the little pieces are go into the weekly to-dos. But it can also be a place that you have some really great motivational stickers. Maybe it's just the simple reminders of be happy, be honest, be kind. And then also as we kind of head towards the tail end of this year, which I think there are only like 5 weeks left, which I'm not quite ready for 2024 yet. So ways to kind of coordinate as you prepare, because I feel like this becomes that sprint to the end of the year. So we have a lot of opportunities to kind of embrace those 3 major things that we want to accomplish. But again, it doesn't have to be 3, maybe it's 2, maybe it's 1, maybe that becomes more of your weekly to-dos. Because then you can also do the weekly to-dos, but you can also reframe some of those to-dos. It can be a to-do list. It can be a to-do list. I'm a to-do fan because I want to celebrate all that I've accomplished, because I need validation, because I am that type of personality. Or you can do the Eisenhower matrix, which I also feel like is a great tool, especially when you're having visitors. And so it can be the do, decide, delegate, and delete. I feel like it becomes the case when you are going to have family in town or other people that are returning that are not normally there. You can also use the Pomodoro technique, which is the picking a task, setting a timer, completing that task for that amount of time, and then you take a break and then you reset. That is a great way that I tackle the to-do list, that I turn into a to-do list. You can also turn this into a bingo board. It can also be where maybe you're tracking your exercise. I know I was at Malika's weekly setup yesterday, and she was going to do the need to, want to, hope to as kind of reframing her to-dos. But there are these 2 things that you can, again, how can they help each other? How can they complement each other to the end goal of how you want to feel this time next week? So let us know how you repurpose this. Let us know how you approach this. And we will see you soon. Thank you, everyone, for sharing. Loved that a few of you all are certainly embracing the kind of unconventionalness of this week and maybe changing up how you approach your weekly setup. I also love that Stephanie created a not to be list instead of kind of the weekly to dos, which again, love all the reframing and repurposing to what is going to serve you best so that you can feel how you want to feel at the end of this week. And again, sometimes it's also giving yourself that moment of grace to maybe it isn't quite the diligent tracking or the diligent turn and journaling and those type of things when you're wanting to focus on spending time with family, spending time with friends, being the hostess with the mostess and all of those things. So the fact that you can certainly be slightly unconventional for this week, I think is great because then we can come back the next week and you can always make adjustments, make changes. I am certainly a creature of habit, so I definitely carry over the same kind of methods from week to week, but I do definitely give myself a little bit of a break when it comes to those type of holidays or those type of things where I just want to change my overall attitude, but still wanting to take those, 5-10 minutes when I escape, when I just need to like get centered, get refocused, and those type of things. So thank you everyone for sharing, which now I think is a great segue into the habit and activities section on page 46 at the bottom. So as we're talking slightly unconventional, this is one of those areas. Maybe this week you're going to try the habit and activity that you want to stop doing. Maybe you want to have someone like the bottom middle with the habit and activity priorities. Maybe you're still wanting to do that kind of diligent 5-4-3-2-1 method, or maybe you only want to do 2 habits and activities. Maybe you want to do 3, maybe you want to do 5, maybe you only want to do 1, or maybe you just want to cover it with a sticker and be like, I'm going to just track it in my monthly habit tracker, those type of things. Or you can always incorporate something fun, something spontaneous. I saw that someone, earlier said that they like to sing, but they found themselves singing not nearly as loudly or robustly. Maybe that's where you throw in, if you're running errands, maybe it's an excellent karaoke event in the car. Or maybe you want to have a yay activity where you take a break. I am a big fan of a dance party or creating a new playlist, something a little bit fun, something to kind of break a little bit of the monotony of my day to day, those type of things. I've also included, I think this autumn bucket list visual is beautiful. So you can always throw in one of these on a little bit more if you want to add just something fun. Or a way to kind of treat yourself in those categories, as well as other self care. But I think this week would certainly allow to be a little bit more creative than that standard habit and activities that we're doing. So this is your permission to kind of do all those things. But at the same time, if you're definitely wanting to hit your goals come the end of the year, you can always come back and again in that kind of traditional approach. There are no right or wrong answers here. And just because it's being recommended in these type of things doesn't mean you have to do it. You need to do what works for you and how you want to see your week. And we'll see you soon. Thank you everyone for sharing. I loved reading all of your approaches to this. One, because I love when you embrace kind of what I would consider maybe the non-conventional activities, like singing out loud, putting something on that makes you smile, doing something that you wouldn't traditionally think of like an activity that you have to do and that kind of thing, which I feel like changes the perspective on how you kind of can approach this section. So it becomes less of that negative triggering, what did I not accomplish, to what are things that I can create so that I am accomplishing something. But I also love Julia's call out with it being kind of slightly crazy week, a little bit unconventional than what we're used to, that she definitely uses this space as the grounding and kind of the accountability, which I mean, let's be honest, if you're running around like crazy trying to help all the things, I definitely forget to drink water. I definitely forget to take care of myself. So if this needs to be your grounding spot, I think that's fantastic. Because again, these are tools that are supposed to help you. You shouldn't be stressed out about not accomplishing this. You shouldn't open this page and get that feeling of dread. We want to make sure that you are optimistic and positive about your journey because you got enough stuff to that's gonna life is gonna happen. So the opportunity to kind of adjust this as you need, I think is fantastic. But also the ability to get creative and get excited about your creativeness. So thank you everyone for sharing. Now we're going to turn to page 47. So you're going to flip this over. I lovingly refer to this page again. I'm going to sound like a broken record because I say this every time I host an event, but I refer to this as the B-side. Music is absolutely my love language. I love music. The playlist that I've got going, this is like little Katie music nostalgia in a box. So I refer to this as the B-side, dealing with the records, where I do not always use this page, but man, there are some gems on this when you really, really need it. I'm a sucker for a good template. I'm a sucker for a good format. But I realized I just was putting too much pressure and stress on trying to fill out this section when it really wasn't quite serving the purpose I wanted it to. So just because I call it the B side does not mean I think anything less of it. That is just my approach. And I want to share kind of my approach with it. But the meal plan is one of those that we definitely see a lot of repurposing. But I am, again, huge fan if you absolutely use this as a meal planner. I have used it as a real-time meal tracker. I have an autoimmune condition. I have ulcerative colitis. So when I was starting to feel a little much of the symptoms, I was definitely tracking everything to make sure that those symptoms were caused by, certain things and not intake. We know that folks will use this, as a workout tracker, studying. They will track their socials. They have also, a couple of folks have done it as a big four, what exercise they did, what meditation, what book they're reading, what they're having for dinner. Someone is tracking vegetables and protein. This is also a great place to track those daily affirmations from the app. And when I talk like B-side gems, this is a fantastic template for a vacation packing list. So what outfits are you going to wear each day? What are items you can repurpose? I am a shoe hoarder. I do. I want to bring all of my shoes. I want to wear a different pair of shoes with a different outfit because that's just what makes me happy. But realistically, I should not do that for a very short trip. So there are really great different ways of using this to repurpose. So let us know if you repurpose this meal plan page, or let us know if you have any other ideas. We love to hear those, and I will check back in a minute. Thank you everyone for sharing. Love the idea, Tina, that she was reminding herself that the sun does exist, the daylight is there, especially as we enter the dark ages of the year. But what I do love is the creativity that everybody is sharing, is that you can turn this not only to kind of a tracker, a planner, the type of like real time input, but you can also use the space to add and overlay some of that reflection, which I think has been a really surprisingly valuable tool for someone like myself who didn't consider themselves kind of a journaler or a reflector. I did all that up here, but being able to see it then power of pen to paper into those type of things, I think is just fantastic. And again, I am a sucker for a good template and a good format, but I love the creativity that this page can do to help everybody achieve, they're on their own journey, but you start to see the similarities across all of us. Excuse me, as we move forward with that. So thank you for sharing. So we are still staying on page 47. We're now moving to the top right of the page for the Mind Body Health Plan. And again, this is another one of those that can be repurposed a lot. Oh, excuse me, choking. And so here is where an opportunity again, where you can track a handful of different things. They can either be a schedule, some people will put their dinner meals here because they're using the meal plan for something else. This can also be a good place to put maybe journal prompts, or asking yourself, what did I do well this week? How did I love others this week? It's a good place to put that I feel and I need T-chart. You can also add some other reflections for alliterations. We love a good alliteration. I do know that it is popular to track or reflect on the 7 types of rest, which 7 types of rest are social, spiritual, mental, creative, emotional, sensory, and physical. That's that middle top row section. And then you have folks that completely alter it, where they things that are doing for their mind, body, health, they have that listed on the left-hand side and then across the top, similar to the habit and activity tracker. But this can be another one of those. Maybe you need it for a cleaning one. Stephanie just shared it's a sticker week for her. We've got some great motivational stickers that you can put there. Same thing with, you can track your reading logs, those type of things. But again, another opportunity to add another element of reflection. If you need it, great. If you don't, also great. So I'll give you some time to work on this one. I'll see you soon. Thank you everyone for sharing. Love seeing all the repurposing for this section, which I feel like is a great use of this. And so we've got folks that are tracking kind of other things. Look like the Clean Mama was popular. I think Mary said that that was hers that was there. So we love seeing your examples. We love using the examples as well. So if you ever see your example, definitely let us know in the chat, as well as if you want, we love to see those in the app as well. That's where we get a lot of our examples, because you all collectively are amazingly inspirational, very creative. And I feel like sometimes it's just that magical moment of showing up to a social, not really knowing what you need, but finding something that you want to use and that it works. And that just kind of opens up a whole nother layer and level to this. And always, like, again, love the idea of using some of this to do some more deep reflection. That's kind of where I feel like I have gravitated to as kind of just the additional overlay of this journal that I've enjoyed. So thank you everyone for sharing. We're going to move to the shopping list, as well as the I am loving section, which again, still on page 47 near the bottom. And again, going to sound a little bit of a broken record. This is another one that gets repurposed because, again, it's a good, clean space that just begs for kind of alterations. So you have folks that are putting their routines in there. Another good place for a bingo board. I'm a big fan of the boring stuff bingo in the bottom left hand. It can also be maybe where you're tracking your prayer lists, your give thanks list, kind of all those things. You can also, I saw someone was going to start doing kind of the random acts of kindness. I feel like that kind of becomes the season. I love the idea of turning it into still kind of that traditional shopping list, but under the don't buy and what you need to buy, or again, great place for a motivational sticker. I think that's always fun. And then the I am loving this section just kind of makes me happy, because it can be something as simple as I am loving this song, I am loving this TV show, I am loving this book. I personally am loving the new cutting boards that I purchased because they make me happy. So let us know how you are using your shopping list. Let us know what you're loving this week, and we will see you soon. Thank you everyone for sharing how you kind of reuse your shopping list, as well as the shout outs to the things that you're loving this week. I love always ending these kind of socials on a like positive, optimistic, high end note. I feel like that's where I like to pick up the music so that we are doing a lot of the chair dancing. But it's more of just like I'm a big fan of kind of leaving it out on that high note because again, this is time that you've set aside for yourself. So why not end it with a bang? And then as I kind of talked to you about earlier, that I was having kind of some feels about nostalgia. I thought the quote at the bottom left was really nice to then embrace nostalgia as an emotional echo, which I thought was I think that was that elegant but realistic thing that I was looking for to how I can realistically embrace nostalgia. So I was a big fan of that. But thank you everyone for sharing and all of this. I appreciate it. As always, if you would like to, please share your completed work in the app. If not, that is fine. But you guys are going to have a fantastic week. And I am so excited that I got to spend your Sunday morning with you. Here are some of the QR codes that you can use. Maya is also putting those links into the chat because this is to join the app. If you want to upgrade to the annual subscription, as well as the feedback survey. So the feedback survey is not only kind of thoughts and feelings on the socials, but also what days. And as Maya always says, make sure that if you include the dates and times that you want to see socials, make sure you include your time zone. And then also the YouTube link. So this is an unsearchable YouTube link. So if you need a social, if you come late, if you have to leave early, we have recordings of the previous socials. You can also find our different array of facilitators, but you will have the camera facilitator as well as the slides and the music. But unfortunately, we don't have the chat. But I feel like there are days where you just need a social and they're not always scheduled. So you can always go there because I think we're now up to like 300 videos. It's insane, but so fun. But as always, thank you everyone for joining us. I appreciate it. You guys are going to have a fantastic week. I hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving and how you celebrate. And I hope to see you again at another social. I will also include my playlist on the next slide, as well as a link to that in Spotify, because now we're going to do a kind of Katie nostalgia. Not only is it one of my favorite Madonna songs, but sung by one of my very nostalgic bands. So everyone, thank you for joining us. Have a fantastic day. Have a fantastic week, and we will see you soon.